kind of make a horseshoe around here.
Thank you, James.
I wanted to take a moment to welcome everybody for coming out today. This has been a very somewhat overwhelming project these last 5 to 6 months. So, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. We have a few people that are participating today. So we have Terry Banfield here right next to me. My wife Jamie, my daughter Maggie. We have Randy Gillen. For those of you who don't know, I was very fortunate in finding surviving family, and they are happily here joining us today. Janice and Scott LaRiviere, who Janice will be briefly speaking, hopefully still. Speakers as well do include Austin, who's doing a senior project at Central Mountain High School about this event. Dave Bauer, my supervisor, he says to me one day, "Here's a picture of this stone, see what's going on, what can we learn about it? I want to know about this guy." And I had no clue what you were getting me into, Dave, that's for sure, but it turned out to be a pretty awesome experience for me. I've made a lot of new friends out of this, met a lot of amazing people that also wanted to share their help with me, knowing that I was trying to collect as much information as possible. So far, I have one definite museum that wants to put a display in place in honor of Captain Ritter at Selfridge Air Base Museum. So it sounds like I might be making a road trip to Michigan here soon with Randy and whoever else wants to join us. John. I talked to Jess, where are you? I'm sorry, Mr. Hunk. Jess? He also is familiar with everything. We just got to meet the other day, so we've been talking as well about Captain Ritter, so it's just going to be a very wonderful continued experience beyond here. I do have a notebook with me and a pen, so I'm hoping all of you will be willing to sign in the notebook, leave email or contact information, because this is only the beginning of what we're trying to do in honor of this American hero. So please, when we leave, I want to make sure that we get that taken care of. If everybody that has a cap on, if you would please remove your caps so that we can have the presentation of the national colors by Mr. Terry Banfield. Just straight ahead. Right there. And then my lovely wife, Jamie Bressler, who is going to sing the national anthem for us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now at this time, Matt, if you would honor us please with the invocation for today's service and ceremony.
I sure would. First of all, I'd like to say thank everybody for coming out. It's a real honor to be here for me. Let's go to prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for people like our hero who fought to help make this country what it is. And thank you for getting us all here safe and giving us strength. May this ceremony touch each and every one of us, and one that we never forget. In Christ's name, we love you. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so, a very good friend of mine that started from this whole project. I'm just going to let him go from here. This is Randy Gillen, our first speaker of the day. So please welcome Randy.
Thank you. I'm a link. That's what I am, and there's several other links here. I'll tell you how I came about finding this area. And first of all, I was born and raised in Lock Haven, which is the home of Piper Aircraft, which is also home of the world famous Piper Cub. And I'll bet you a milkshake, a peanut butter milkshake, that Captain Ritter flew a Piper Cub somewhere along the line. You have to find that out. So, and like I said, I'm part of a link here. And how I found out about this was from my place of employment, I could walk 30 seconds for coffee. Which made it nice. At a restaurant in Lock Haven called Fox's Market House Restaurant. And Mountain Home Magazine, which is free as the wind, delivers their magazine there. So there was the magazine. There's a picture of, if you haven't seen it, it's a picture of an airplane going down with a photo of a pilot. And my dad was a pilot. My wife's dad was a pilot. He worked at Piper. I lived at the end of the runway for 14 years, from here to that tree, from the main gate of Piper Aircraft. So aviation was in our history. So I got the magazine, I took it back to the firehouse, and I sat down, I read the magazine. I said, I gotta go find this place. So in the meantime, I was doing some searching on the internet, and I found out that the mountain girl who did live in the area here in the cabin, camp house, wrote a blog called Lost in Letonia. So I searched that, I found it, and she had the blog, and part of it was about this site here and what happened. And she gave a couple clues on her blog how to find the place. So the gate had green markings paint on it, and the cabin, the Cold Spring cabin, 150 yards away, was there, and my wife and myself, and Linda, my sister-in-law, and her husband. Where's Linda with the big doggy? We walked out here in probably June of 2009. And we walked out, and it took us a couple minutes to find the site, but we found it. And after that, over the course of the next 9 years, I had mentioned it to several people about coming out here, and they all were interested in taking the hike. And first time we wanted to come out, it poured out. The second time, 12 degrees.
No.
The third time, a foot of snow. The fourth time, tell me something, it's probably what it was. So we never did get to come out here, and some of my friends that are here today were going to come out eventually with me. But everything seemed just to kind of mellow out over the next few years. And in November 5th of this past November of 2017, I was on a 5K hike up in Kettle Creek on a fundraiser for community nursing. And I met my friend Dave. We were doing the hike together, and we were coming down, I believe, Dave, right?
We were.
And besides that, I'm not the missing link. We were coming down to hike, and I mentioned about this to him, and he said he hadn't heard about it, but he was going to find out more about it, and he did. So basically, Dave sicked a project onto his protege, or is it the other way around? On Rick, and boy did Rick take off running with this. Unbelievable what this fellow has done. And like I said, I was one of the links, and I'm going to pass my link right on to Austin, wherever you might be, Austin. Where are you?
Thanks, Randy. So next up we have Austin Donahue. Austin's doing his senior project at Central Mountain High School about Captain Ritter. Has been working by my side a little bit here through everything. so has a few words to say for us.
All right. I'd just like to, again, thank you all for coming, and I'd like to thank Dave and Rick for giving me the opportunity for doing this for my senior project. Chose this out of all my other decisions to do this because my father and my grandfather are veterans, and my grandfather was a World War II veteran as well, and may have had the opportunity to serve with Captain Ritter. If it would have been this nice in 1946 when Captain Ritter was flying over, he probably wouldn't be here today. So I'd like to also thank his family for coming out to the site from Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So the next speaker is myself. Again, I am Rick Bressler. So I kind of was trying to think about what's the best way to explain this and how this all worked out. So I will simply start it with this. A couple of months ago, Austin and I were sitting in the office. We're trying so hard to locate family, just trying and trying and trying. And we got it narrowed down to 3 potentials. And we sat there and basically did eeny, meeny, miny, mo on these 3 names. And we were like, we had the mailing address. And at first I was like, well, how are we going to get a hold of her? Because I figured email. I didn't have a phone number to call. So I was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, mail. So we sat there and we wrote a letter, walked over to the post office. That was a Friday. And we were just crossing fingers that it was the right person. And lo and behold, it was. And that led to a new friendship that I have with Janice here. She's been very integral for myself in some of the information that I've been very fortunate to get a hold of, thanks to her and Scott. So I just wanted to take them on this. Normally I try to memorize things. I just got this last night and read over it, so I wanted to do a moment and do Captain Ritter justice and tell you his accomplishments. So I did start researching before military because there is always a story behind the legend, you know? There's always a reason what led him to what he is. So to start with, everybody can see the birth date there, June 25th, 1919. So he was born to 2 parents by the name of John and Lillian Ritter. Grew up, he had a younger brother, John. He then had a younger sister, Joyce. Larry graduated from Roosevelt High School in 1937 and went on to Dartmouth College. But the thing to point out about Mr. Ritter here, Captain Ritter, is that not only was he a good student, he was very academically well achieved. He had a lot of accolades honoring his achievements in school, but he was apparently quite the athlete. So I was starting to look through some of these newspaper articles. I don't know what half of these competitions are, to be perfectly honest with you, but the man was pretty spectacular. The one that most of you may be familiar with is the fact that he won the 100-yard dash at 9.9 seconds in 1940 at the Penn Relays. The man was fast. He was white lightning, you know, so there's just a lot more to him than before his military career, and that's also a part of where I'm digging into now. So I've been very fortunate there. Captain Ritter, he was drafted, his senior year while attending Dartmouth, and 4 months after that, he decided that he wanted to go to the Aviation Cadet School, the Air Cadet School Academy. And within 4 months of being drafted, they approved it. So what's funny about that is I have an honorable discharge on this man already. Once again, thanks to you, Janice. And I just thought it was funny because the man wasn't discharged, you know, so it was just cute to have it. But he got commissioned 2nd lieutenant. It was August of 1942. And by the end of that year, he was deployed out to the early parts of the North African campaign. And I think something that speaks for this man's accomplishments is the fact that he went from 2nd lieutenant to 1st lieutenant to captain in less than a year's time. He flew over 55 combat missions. Confirmed wise, I can at least say for sure 13 downed enemy aircraft in North Africa, with apparently more, while he then went back for another round in the European theater of operations. The man took out a Nazi sub. I don't know what's cooler than that, but he is I can't say what I'm really thinking at the moment, but he just did remarkable things. He was a very heavily decorated soldier, and is somebody that should be honored, and is somebody that shouldn't be forgotten. And it just irritates me that this man has been forgotten. And I know all of us would want to have a legacy to pass on, and just think what this man must have been thinking those last few moments. It was a training flight accident, for God's sake, a freak snowstorm. The man didn't die in combat, and for that reason they think, why bother with this man? Well, now today, all of you know why we should bother with this man, why we should bother with every veteran, every person that does anything out of the extraordinary just because he can, or she can, or whoever can. We need to remember these people. So I printed off this. This was a letter that was sent to his wife after he died. They did a pretty good search where I can at least confirm quite a few accolades for this man. So I'm going to read these because, like I said, I didn't have time to memorize them. I've already explained he has the Distinguished Flying Cross. He has the Air Medal. He was awarded multiple times over. Let me get past all the clusters here. He got a whole bunch of clusters. The American Defense Service Medal, the American Theater Ribbon, the World War II Victory Ribbon. He has the European, African, Middle Eastern Theater Ribbon with 3 Bronze Service Stars for battle participation in the Sicily, Tunisia, and Naples campaigns. He has the Distinguished Unit Badge that was cited to his unit right in the middle of him taking down all these aircraft in July 30th of 1943. And that's just a touch of the iceberg of what this man did. So I'm trying to do him justice. A lot of people have been helping. Austin, Randy. I've made some new friends, the Dudkins. I'm not sure where you guys are, but thank you for your willingness to talk to me. And Randy, Jess, a lot of people have reached out, and it's spectacular. I had no idea so many people were interested in this, but I'm glad they are. And we have quite a collection we're getting put together. We are working on a few other projects about Captain Ritter, so we'll be sure to update you on all of that. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. So, Janet?
I didn't memorize either. And I'm not used to speaking, so I'm a little nervous. But oops. Here's a little something for you.
Oh. It's $1 million bill. All right.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and I want to thank everybody for coming here. Back in 1946, an incredible man lost his life after an awe-inspiring career in World War II, bravely defending our country and working to keep ourselves safe. In a letter to my grandparents, Harry Truman wrote, in grateful memory of Captain Lawrence Ritter, who died in the service of his country in the America area, April 26, 1946. He stands in the unbroken line of patriots who have dared to die that freedom might live and grow and increase its blessings. Freedom lives, and through it, he lives. And I might add, through it, Wrestler he lives, in a way that humbles the undertakings of most men. I never knew much about my Uncle Larry, except for I knew he was important. Enough so to have his picture on my wall, along with the letter from Harry Truman framed, and I have his flag in a glass case in our dining room. His story was buried with my mother, who spoke very fondly of him. But I never knew all the details of his incredible life. My brother was named after him, but sadly, I wish he was here today. He passed away at 41 of a heart attack. Our family is small. I had no aunts or uncles growing up and no cousins on the Ritter side of the family, so family history has faded away. Through dogged determination, perseverance, Rick has changed all that. He brought this amazing man back into our lives. Rick, we appreciate all the time and effort you've dedicated to uncovering Uncle Larry's story, as well as the attention you have brought to it, and the larger theme of remembering and honoring our veterans. There is a renewed interest that has brought a sense of pride to my family, and on behalf of us all, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Nice picture.
Thank you. If my daughter Maggie would please come up here for a moment. She's going to tell you what she's doing.
Right, so to honor today's event and to honor Captain J Ritter, I decided to make American or veteran-themed bracelets for everyone who participated here today. And like my dad said, we can't forget people that do stuff like this, who do extraordinary things, and to ignore him simply because he didn't die in combat. So I decided to make these bracelets for everyone who came here today, and if you do not get a bracelet, I apologize. My time was a little limited, but if you do not get a bracelet, simply tell my dad and I will do my best to get bracelets out. And in case one of them breaks, on the back of your bracelets, they are burned together. If one of the strings breaks off, simply just take a lighter to it and burn it right back in the bracelet and it should be good. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before I started handing them out. So.
Take a moment. Does anybody have any questions while bracelets are being passed out? Anything anybody wants to? Yes, sir.
Where's he buried at?
There, technically speaking, is not a burial. There was only, I think it was 3 vertebrae that they found left of him at the site here. So according to people that were part of it, if I'm understanding correctly, what ashes were left, his wife Eve arranged to have them. They're actually spread here. So he is here with us today as well.
Thank you.
Of course, yes.
What time of day was the crash?
It was just after 5 o'clock in the evening. Does that sound familiar? Somebody else knows this one.
Right.
Is that right? Yep. 5 o'clock. That's right, Jess.
Where was he flying out of and going?
So Captain Ritter was flying from his last duty station as a trainer. He was training up-and-coming pilots from Selfridge Airfield in Michigan. And he was making a flight path. He started in Michigan, was going through Ohio. And it was the unfortunate part when he got to Pennsylvania that the snowstorm happened. What happened during the accident, what I just also got to read, and Matt, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there was ice static that occurred that froze his instruments. And by the time he recovered, he did manage to get back control of the plane, but unfortunately it was too late. He was on his way to New York. Actually, apparently he was also going to be spending a little time visiting his parents when he arrived, and he never got home. So, yeah.
Are these remains of P-47?
That it is. It's the P-47 Thunderbolt. This is what's left, basically, of after the site's been pillaged and plundered and gone over, but there are still existing components throughout the area. Some people have some here. There's some elsewhere, but yep, that's basically what's left of his plane. And the crater was much deeper, just of course over time. Dirt and sediment kind of filled it, so that's what we're looking at now.
Rick, would you tell the story of the stone and how that sort of all came about?
Well, I just recently learned how it really actually happened, so I'm going to do my best, Jess, to honor the work that you've done. Jess right here could actually tell you much more detail because he was part of it. So this is Jess Hackenberg, everybody.
I'm with the Lycoming County Veterans Council and the World War II 50th Anniversary Committee. And from a small child, being my father in the airplane business, we knew about this wreck. And I tried to sell it to people. We want to do something. From 91 to 96, we built a lot of monuments down in Williamsport. I couldn't get much interest because one man, one branch of the service, not in Lycoming County, and not killed in the war. It was hard to get the money. We had to pay $2,000 to get that stone. The man that found this, the hunter, one of the 4 or 5 hunters from Laconia, he has some pictures which I'm going to try to get for Rick of him standing in that hole on the back of that Pratt & Whitney R2800 on the turbo supercharger, and his shoulders, his head's just out of the hole. And you can see here where the wing and how the thing went straight in. It took a lot of years, 91 to 96, no interest, 97, 98, 99. Got some people interested, got some maps, got some Boy Scouts, got one young fellow a Eagle Scout Award, turned him loose at the bottom of the hill and sent him up here in a drove. We knew where it was, but we didn't know where it was. And once they found the spot, we went ahead and no disrespect to the scouts, but the scouts didn't do this job all. The Veterans Council and the Commemorative Committee raised the money. I had some World War II and Korean War vets drug that monument up here as close as we can get, drug it in here, made a base, set it up. We raised, I think, $2,000, and we put it up with a flag holder, which I don't see here anymore, and a flag. And I understand a gentleman from Wellsboro comes down periodically and puts a flag on it. I'm glad to hear that. But this was something that should have been done years ago. And it was raising money for various monuments. It was one of the hardest sells I ever had to do because of the location and the timing and who, where, what. Half the people thought I was nuts. This doesn't exist, till I drug some people out that knew about it. And I talked to Rick from that newspaper article the other day, called him on the phone, introduced myself, and I told him he ought to have a medal for what he and his group has done for this, because we wanted to do something, we think we did something, but now this is a follow-up. And when we had this dedication, we had in excess of 100 people. We had the Korean War vets of Lycoming County, a 7-man rifle squad, 3 shots each, a colors commander, a bugler. We had a couple members of the clergy, such as you have here, and it was a real deal. And then we all went home because we were wore out, we were tired, and it's like the guys that helped me, and I'm one of them, dragged that stone up here. Where was them scouts when we needed them back? Everybody was playing touch tag football and gone. But it has been pillaged. It's my understanding, I thought the engine was still in the hole. I'd like to excavate it. Of course, it is a burial ground. I've been criticized for that. But I understand most of the airplane, to answer this gentleman's question, and the engine have been trucked to Wellsboro over the years and sold for scrap. And it should have been kept. People should have. Now those are the self-sealing fuel tanks. Everybody knows a Republic P-47 is a very heavy airplane. 8 machine guns, 50 calibers, 4 in each wing. The wings are full of ammunition. Fighter bomber. This thing, when it get away from a German at high altitude, came down, straight down, pulled out, and the wings didn't come off. And they shot up every train you ever saw in a movie. And this guy, right there, that gentleman, he deserves what we're doing for him today, and he deserves more because we didn't know what Rick found about him, because we didn't have the time, the technology, or the effort to do it. What we wanted to do is get a stone up here, have a nice program, and maybe people like ourselves would come back periodically and work on it. So for that, I thank everybody that came. I'm glad to see it's not shot full of holes. I wish I'd have brought some cleaner along because it looks like it's being in the monument business as I've been for many, many years. I don't sell them, I just help build them. It needs to be cleaned. So thanks again for coming.
So as you can see, I have met a lot of great people that have helped us clue everything along the way. It's been fantastic. It's been a privilege. So I just can't say enough. Austin has learned a lot. My buddy John's hung out. He's asked me questions about it.
Are there any other World War II vets here? Korea. Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Somalia. I was in Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan. It's all in lineage, and that's where we kind of fall short. So my father's passed on. He was a Korea vet. My brother was a Grenada vet. Rick knows I did 22 years. And this is something I look forward to. I retire from my civilian job here in a few years. But this is something that I even told Rick that I had talked to Lycoming County about trying to find the burial sites, like Clinton County, Lycoming County. There's burial sites everywhere that are covered. They're just covered. And we find them out hiking, and I want to, Rick knows my information, but I would like to start putting some blogs out there. If anybody finds these burial sites that we had talked about before.
Yep.
I'd like to start getting involved in clearing them out and finding out who's in there and some of the historical factor, because this area is rich in history and veterans. Pennsylvania, New York, I mean, this is one of the original colonies. We got a lot of history around here that people don't talk about. And hell, you got like Cumming motors or like Cumming engines. Where my father retired, those engines went all over the world, and they were in Germany, they were everywhere. So, but Rick, as a long-term veteran, thank you for this.
I was just curious, maybe Jess would know, but the remains here, would you know what we're looking at?
The fuel tanks, is that right, Jess? Most of the material here is the fuel tanks.
Those are the self-sealing bladder fuel tanks. When this thing went into the ground, it went in straight down. You see there's no trees. This one here probably was there when it happened, but 14-foot wide wing from leading edge to trailing edge, went down to about 14 or 15 inches. Wow. And when we were up here years ago, we excavated carefully and picked up a few pieces to take back to the display we did down in Williamsport. This thing is folded up like an accordion. Yeah. This is a heavy airplane. It came straight down and it came down fast. And I interviewed the state police officers. When we came up the highway and went past the Black Forest, that's an airfield. That's where the Army brought their 200 men and their 6x6s and sector tents up and flew their airplane. And they searched and searched and searched. But that airplane, when it came in with such force and such weight, that's what you see. If you look at the pieces, that's all collapsed. It's like an accordion. It's like a shade. It's put together. And the way I figure it, this is a wing. The other wing was up that way, and this was where the fuselage, I would imagine that was the top, the canopy. But that was a tough airplane. And the people, since I was here last, several years now, the people are hauling it away faster than you can find it. And I'm in the aircraft recovery business over many years, and if you didn't have a guy sitting on top of it 24 hours a day with a gun, it'd be gone in 3 days. So, one place down here in the bushes is a cylinder. When those Boy Scouts came up through, they got a picture of a nice radial, one of the 18 cylinders. And they didn't bring it with them. They left it.
What part is the cylinder?
That's where the pistons go up and down. There's two rows of 9, 18. This is about a 2,500 horsepower engine. This is no small engine. Big, heavy. And I asked them, one fellow said, how do you suppose that cylinder got down there? I said, it's simple. Somebody was stealing it. It might have been taken off the engine. It might have got thrown off the engine with this impact, I imagine. And they went that far and ran out of gas and parked it and walked the rest of the way to their car. And they didn't bring it up, so I don't know whether we could ever find that or not. But there is some major pieces floating around, and there's a lot of small pieces. And I'm going to see if I can't gather some things up for Rick for his museum. But that's what's left of an airplane that is big. It's a one-man airplane, but it's a monster. And that shows you what kind of impact that had.
What motor was in that?
Pratt
Whitney and Pratt?
2800. Radio, 2 9s, put together, 18 cylinders, 2,500 horse. This thing was a high-altitude fighter. With those big tanks on it, it could protect our bombers all the way into Germany, but it was a fighter bomber, and that's what I'd like Rick to get some information. What did this guy do when he was in Europe? Because every time you see an old movie where we're strafing a train and a steam engine blows up, that's a P-47 with 850 calibers tearing apart, and they fly right through the wreckage. You ever notice that? They go right through the debris. Everything's blowing up, they go right through it. Built like a tank, but no de-icing. If he had a P-dot tube on that for his instrument and it was heated and he didn't have it turned on or it iced up, he'd lose all his instrumentation. He'd get ice on the wings and the damn thing would lose its lift. And that state police officer that I dealt with that went down here in Latonia, my dad gave him a lot of maps and he drew numbers. He went around to every hunting camp in April, May, and June and got sighting, sound sighting. What did you hear? Which way was it going? A lot of them heard the thump and they heard the explosion. And they heard nothing. And they couldn't see out their ports. That's how bad that snow was. So if this thing caught fire when it impacted, the fire probably went out from the snow and the water and the ice. But to take a big airplane, any of you ever go down to Reading that World War II weekend, when you walk up to a P-47, I can't see over the wing. The wing is that high. This is a big airplane. And I still think there's major pieces in that hole, but because Rick's exactly right. The guy that I know was up here when they found the vertebrae and a couple collar insignias. They didn't find nothing else. What the fire didn't get, the animals took away. So when his parents had those carts cremated, they put them back in the hole, and to be quite frank with you, I don't have the guts to go down in there and dig around and see these burial sites, you know. But that, what we're doing here, Rick, snap yourself in the back again, because boy, you're doing well.
Thank you, sir. I just have one last quick little thing. Janice, if you would please help with me. I have, and thanks to the help of James, where are you, buddy? Over here. And if you would also help Janice with this, I'll hold your dog. We have a new flag holder. So if you would find, James helped us get this made and redone since one was taken from here. So thanks to Dave getting that started with James, we got a new one here for him to put in place. So if you would go to James, I can find a good spot for it. Yeah.
Right here? Front?
Right. Get it started for it, and maybe perhaps put that nice flag right there in the stand. Will it fit through the hole?
Right back.
There you go. Don't fall.
Oil.
At this time, if there's not any other questions, Matt, if you would kindly honor us with the benediction for today's service and gathering.
Let's go through the Lord in prayer. Lord, we thank you so much for Captain Ritter and men like him all over our country. We pray that today will give us a deeper impact of his courage and what he's done for our country, and that we will never forget it. Go with us as we leave this place. Be with us. Give us strength. Let us keep you in our hearts. In Christ's name we love you. Amen.
And now at this time, Terry Banfield is going to honor us with the playing of taps. In closing, I want to thank everybody for coming, everybody that spoke today. I can't thank you enough. Jess, your input and insight on what occurred here. All my gratitude for that. It's been remarkable, and again, like I said, I think what's more important, not only to honor this man, to mourn the loss, but at this point I say it's time to celebrate him, what he did, think fondly of it, think fondly of what every veteran has done, anybody for that matter that's American hero, whether it's a police officer, a fire chief, anybody that's done anything just for your neighbor. Every last one of those people are heroes, and I think we all need to remember that and live our lives the best way we can to honor that. And so with that, I thank all of you. I want to remind you that we are hosting a reception at 5 o'clock down at Creekside Restaurant in Mill Hall. Hors d'oeuvres are provided by the VFW Benefits Center. There is also going to be coffee and tea. They will have menus placed out if you wish to order dinner while we're there. I hope to see everybody there. I know there's going to be people there that couldn't make it here, so it should be interesting. And so thank you so much, everybody, for coming. And Austin here is going to lead us out with the American flag. So if everybody would just take time to follow him out slowly, make sure everybody is safe. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us today.
And if anyone did not get a bracelet, please let me know so I can make you one as soon as possible.
All right, kiddo.